Congratulations! You've nailed your first interview as a game dev. And if you are in this position, and if you are anything like me, you most likely must be very, very nervous. You must be crossing everything in order to make sure that this comes true. Also, depending on how long you've been waiting for this, it must feel like the most important thing in your whole life. Now, because of this, and if you are in this position right now, I've decided to make this video to give you guys some tips and tricks on how to nail that interview, give you a higher chance to get that job, and hopefully give you a little bit more peace so you understand what future employers are looking for whenever you go through those doors ready for that interview. So, without further ado, let's get started with this episode. Alright, welcome to another episode. My name is Harvey Newman. I'm currently an animation director and I like to share my passion for animation here in this channel with all of you. Before I get started, I'd like to tell you guys that I have an animation workshop and I have had this workshop for a while for all those that don't know, and I'm updating my website right now, the workshop right now, and I'm turning it into a mentorship, and it's going to be much more involved and better. However, the prices that are currently on the website, they are going to change. I'm going to have to increase them a little bit, but I just wanted to tell you guys ahead of time so you guys can take an opportunity now to basically take advantage of the low prices, and I hope to see you guys in the workshop. Now, let's get started with this video. Interviews, they can be incredibly tricky. I was actually thinking about way back in the day when I first actually got my very first interview in games. Man, I was so nervous. I spent 3.5 years waiting for that first interview. So you can imagine how nervous I was, and I genuinely felt, like I mentioned in the beginning, like Eminem. I felt like this was my moment, my one moment to shine, and if I didn't, then that's it. I'm gonna give up animation because I've been working so hard and it's not gonna be worth it, and I'm just gonna like pursue something else kind of thing. So if you are in this position right now that you are getting your first interview or you are in the process of getting your first interview, then just know that there's a few things that employers are looking for and things that you can actually take in your mind with you to the interview that should make your journey slightly easier and better than mine was. Because genuinely, when I went for my first interview, I was incredibly scared and I felt like a little kid in a candy store, especially when you go to a studio and you get to see all the amazing artwork and the people, and you recognize some developers and stuff like that. You feel like a fish out of water. You feel like you don't belong. You feel like, why are they actually interviewing me, right? So just know that if somebody is actually asking you for an interview, it means that you have talent, and it means that they saw something in you that perhaps you don't even see yourself, right? They saw potential. Things that they see in your work that fit within the studio or the game that you don't see yourself. You will learn it through time, but right now, they just want to get to know you. So, my very first topic that I want to cover here, and when it comes to interviews, is what are employers looking for in you, right? So, this is a tricky question because it depends on the studio, right? But know this, whenever you go to an interview, right? Every studio is different, but all of them have already watched your showreel, and most likely they have shown your showreel to other people, right? Because this hiring process, especially in a creative industry, normally involves more than one person. So even if it's like up to the director or lead or supervisor to hire these people, right? He normally has to basically double check it with his peers. So this is basically the setup before you go in. Now, what are they specifically looking for? Normally a really good showreel, right? And they want to make sure that your showreel stands out from others. Because based on experience, when you look at showreels, most showreels look kind of the same, right? They fit within a formula that has been out there for a while. And normally the formula goes something like, show me a walk cycle, show me a run cycle, show me a combat scene, and show me maybe a facial animation. Things of that nature, right? Those are the normally showreels that you see 9 times out of 10. Now, on that one time that you see a show reel that actually showcases something different, that showcases something original, that showcases skill above others, those are the show reels that most employers are going to go, this guy, this girl looks incredibly interesting. Let me show it to my peers so they can actually see if he will fit within the team or she would fit within the team in terms of skill, right? So then the link to the show reel actually gets spread through the studio, few people get to see it, and then if other people go, yeah, this guy, this girl is really, really cool, the skill is amazing, so I would like to work with them. Perfect, right? So you get positivity all throughout. So then the person in charge of hiring, that's when they would call you, right? No, apart from your show reel, they would also look at your experience in terms of paperwork, right? Now, these two things are kind of correlated in a way that if you are very junior or inexperienced, they want to see a show reel that showcases amazing amount of talent, like crazy amount of talent, because here they kind of want to bet on somebody that can come through the door and they have the talent to actually take things to a new level, right? And the reason why is because talent is difficult to get, but then, knowing the software, knowing the buttons is easy. So talent is very precious. So the less experience you have on your paper, right? If you only have about a couple of lines of, I have done university, and that's about it. So at that point, they want to see a show reel that is like super amazing. However, if you have a lot of experience, but your show reel is like kind of all right, employers will also see you as a potential candidate, because what a show reel with a lot of experience shows is that the person actually knows how to work in a team. They already ship titles. They know exactly what games are looking for. They know perhaps how to implement their animations, animation logic. There's a whole bunch of features and things, qualities that the person has that is very difficult to get from a junior animator, right? So there's basically a correlation between like showcasing the show reel at a super high level and then also experience, right? They definitely connected. Now, if you hit the sweet spot between the two, then you get that call. But this initially is what employers are looking for. A level of talent, doesn't matter if it's experience or in show reel, that showcases that you are the right guy or girl for the job. So the second tip that I would like to give to you guys is how important is your show reel versus the interview, right? It's a question that I get asked all the time because I think as an animators, we have the show reel that should basically state, this is my level of talent, like it, hire me, don't like it, leave it, right? That's it. We don't want to do it anymore. We don't want to talk to people because, we are introverts at heart, and this is basically how we want to showcase our art form. However, I'm here to tell you that is quite important. The fact that you need to have an interview, however, is not the most important. Based on my experience, the interview, it's basically like they have seen your show reel, they have seen your CV, and they like both. And that means that you are about 80% there, right? Now the interview is going to fill the rest, because what employers are looking for is basically somebody that fits within the studio. Like the game development is a very long process, right? So you don't want to work with somebody that you dislike or you don't feel is a good fit within the team. You want to work with somebody that you feel like is a buddy. It doesn't matter if they are juniors or experienced, because you're going to work with them on a specific project for a few years or a few projects, many years, right? So you want to hire the right person that fits in and you can gel with them. This is why it's so important for you to actually kind of like fulfill those 20%, just so people can actually see that you are a good person, on top of being a very talented person, on top of being like a nice, cool person to hang out with for drinks or whatever, right? All of these things that are more of on a personal level, they want to know about, right? So this is why having an interview is incredibly important, so they get to know the person behind the work, right? Behind the show reel, behind the CV. So very important, both sides. However, definitely your work is ultimately what's going to get you the job and is ultimately what studios are looking for. Now, what kind of things are studios interested in you telling them whenever you talk, right? Whenever they ask you questions. And the number one thing that I can tell you, right, is that you show passion for games. The amount of people that I've interviewed that even though they're interviewing for a games position, when they are being interviewed, it kind of feels like, or it sounds like, they don't really care about games. So if you think about it logically, like if I'm hiring you for my studio and I'm here because I'm passionate about games, and then you are sitting across the table from me and I'm asking you, so what kind of games do you play? And the person goes, I don't play very many games nowadays and stuff, and I never really care about games, but I like animation. That kind of like just puts a damper on things, right? Because you should love animation for sure. This is why you actually want to get into the games to animate. But ultimately, it's all about the game, right? So you should feel almost equally as passionate about games as you do animation. And also another thing that they will actually check or ask is that if you tell them that you're passionate about games, they will check if you are really passionate about games. They will ask you things like, what games have you played? What is your favorite game? What kind of part of this game do you enjoy the most, right? What was the ending of this game like, right? Those questions exist so they can actually basically check on you to see if you are really as passionate as you are saying you are, or if you just like make believe to get the job, right? So be honest on your interview and be passionate about games, because if you're not, then what's the point of you working in animation in games? You're going to end up very disappointed on the long run if you do that. So passionate about games is a massive thing. So on top of showing passion for games, second most important thing that you can do in an interview is showing passion for the studio itself, right? Because there's a thing in games that we believe that if you actually took the time to apply to a studio or to my studio that I'm working on, right, that you know why you applied, right? Because this is my position and most animators out there. If you are working somewhere, it's because you wanted to get to that place, right? So when they ask you questions, they will ask you about what do you know about the studio and why do you actually want to work here and stuff. If you say things like, I don't know, it's just a job, or, you know, an agency contacted me and then I said, I'm going to check it out, right? It shows an interest on the studio, and it shows that you don't know nothing about us and you're here by chance, right? So once again, even if you're passionate about games, if you're not passionate about the studios, or if you don't know about the studio, then it means that you really don't care about where you work, you just want to animate in games, right? So this two parts of being passionate about games, but also knowing about the studio and being passionate about the studio, tells people that you are a good fit for this place. And then last but not least, I want to tell you guys about asking questions. This is also another important point that I see people kind of skip a lot of times on interviews. This happens towards the end of the interview when people give you like 15 minutes, half an hour to ask about the studio, the people and whatnot. And a lot of people go, I really don't have any questions. It's fine. I'm good. Now this can be kind of like something that you can just like put aside and think, I was fine, no problem. But to me and to a lot of people that interview people, what happens when you say that you don't have any questions, once again, goes back to that idea that you're not really interested in the studio or the team or what we just told you about the studio, right? Because there's going to be a time that they will tell you, this is what our studio is about, this is what we're working on, we are excited about this project because of these reasons. Things like that will come through as information. So when they come through as information, make sure you have questions for them based on the stuff that they gave you. And then more important than that, prepare for the interview and have questions prior to that. Research the studio, look at what they've done, games that you perhaps have played off the studio. Why did you like them? Make notes about them, right? So those things are really important, because when they finally ask you, do you have any questions? You can go, yes, actually I have quite a few. So then you can start asking those questions about what they just told you. The team size, kind of like what software do they use, right? What kind of pipeline do they use? Things like that that actually keeps them on their toes. And they understand that not only you're interested, but you're asking good questions that allow you to kind of like, get that job. So technical questions, animation questions, what kind of workflow do you guys have? How do you actually receive feedback from others? Can I go to the director, lead, supervisor directly and ask him questions, right? What's the feedback cycle like? Do you guys do dailies? Do you guys do weeklies, right? All of those things makes them think that you're thinking about the position as well, right? And this is where you want to be. You want to be in a position that you're not just there to get the job. You are there to kind of like analyze the position in the job, because this goes both ways. It's not just about the employer hiring you and that's about it. It's also about you liking the employer and seeing if he's a fit, right? So this is kind of like the vibe that you want to give as you are going through your interview. And if you make it into the team, then you're going to be a nice fit for the team. And that's all I had for you guys. Don't forget to actually like, subscribe, and hit the bell button if this was useful to you guys. Also, Patreon. I have a Patreon page. Make sure you visit me. Thanks a lot for all the people that have been supporting me. Highly, highly appreciate it. And make sure you join my Discord server, because we are having a lot of fun talking about animation and sharing our knowledge and our passion in the server. So make sure you join me. All the links are below, so make sure you check it out. And until then, stay well, stay safe. Peace.